Aftershocks are bringing still more flooding and liquefaction for some residents.
There's been the threat of flooding from very high spring tides and the continuing aftershocks. In some places there's been more liquefaction and people are getting very, very sick of it.
Look at this crap.
Look at this crap.
We're a bit over this.
Oh, actually, it stinks. Smell it. Look at it.
I'm not shoveling this shit out this time.
For some Bexley residents, it means getting out the wheelbarrows and shovels again. Chair of the Bexley Residents Association, Sandra Gordon, says they've been keeping in touch with each other through their Facebook page.
We've got quite a good Facebook page going. We've got 109 people on our Facebook page, and it's a really good medium for people to be able to talk about how they're feeling, what's happening. Like last night we had high tides and someone said, oh, I've seen flooding, in this particular area, so people were instantly warned about it. And we looked into it a bit further and the council came out and said, look, the stop bank's doing its job and it's doing what it should do. So that sort of reassured people. We could go back out to people and let them know that everything's fine. While residents are keeping up to date with each other, there are complaints about the lack of information from authorities. If you're online and you want to trawl through information on different websites, then you could probably keep a bit more up to date, but not everyone has time to do that. So we try to keep people informed on our Facebook page, but people are really screaming out for official information. We want to know what's happening with our land. We've had liquefaction now 3 times in a row with each of the big earthquakes and aftershocks, and people are just saying what's happening. A decision's got to be made, and we need that sooner rather than later. Some of our people have been waiting 7 months since September, and they've just, they're throwing their hands in the air saying we need a decision. That people's lives are on hold until they know whether they can rebuild here or not. And most of us were told after September that we could rebuild, and we were happy with that. Then February hit, more liquefaction, and now it's unknown. So we need information. Residents say they're ready for whatever comes. We're growing up people. We know that the news is probably going to be bad, but better to know than not know. Because at least if you know, you can make some plans in your life. At this stage, we're all in limbo, all waiting for that decision that's out of our hands. We'll have some people that don't want to leave if that's what it comes to, and we'll have people that want to, that do want to leave. So I don't think you can keep everybody happy. People will have to just get on with their lives, but at least they'll have concrete decisions made for them that they can then, decide what they're going to do. With the last aftershock, there's a suspicion that the latest flow of liquefaction brought sewage with it.
You smell it.
Smell it.
We had, liquefaction come up, and it certainly seemed that there was sewage getting involved with that liquefaction coming up. There was a definite scum sitting on the top, a very strong smell, and, the concerns are that there is sewage mixed in with that liquefaction. We won't let our cat inside because the cat likes to get up on the bench, and we don't want that traipsed all over our benches and then into our food. So with residents divided about 50-50 on going or staying, what's the future? Well, Bexley's a community of very strong people. We want to move on with our lives. We love living in Bexley. We love the area, we love being close to the beach, we love the wetlands. So I would like to say that I'm hoping that there will still be some part of Bexley that will still be able to stay here. For those residents that do want to stay, I'm thinking that there'll be a portion of it probably returned to the nature and to the birds and that sort of thing. But I'd really like to see some areas of Bexley where people can still live, because people are very strong about staying here. We love this place. We love our neighbours. The sad thing about if we can't rebuild here will be that we'll lose all the neighbours. I mean, this cul-de-sac that we live in, we all moved in within 6 months of each other, and when you build a new house and you've got neighbours all doing the same things in your garden, you build those strong ties because you're all working together for the same common cause. So it'll be very sad too if we lose all that community spirit.
For those who still have problems with liquefaction, time is running out.
Director for Infrastructure for Civil Defence, Michael Aitken, says this last blitz for volunteers is for those with genuine need. He says the volunteers will help people such as the elderly, those with disabilities, or for people without personal networks or community support. Volunteers or those needing assistance should contact Civil Defence by phone or email. After this weekend, people can take their silt to the Eco Depot for disposal and should keep their receipts for insurance claims.
A 12-hour global telethon for Christchurch is planned for Sunday the 22nd of May, exactly 3 months on from the city's devastating earthquake. It will also be streamed live online throughout the world, and people will be able to donate securely via the internet, while people will be able to buy or sell items on auction through the seller.co.nz. Christchurch Boys High is one of the few schools in Christchurch that didn't sustain a large amount of damage. The question is, why?
Those who drive past the rugby fields of Christchurch Boys High School and see the striking main building may wonder how a building such as this could be left almost unscathed while so many other of Christchurch's buildings have been destroyed. Old boys of the school fought for the building in the 1980s when the Ministry of Education decided the building was past its use-by date. Instead of being pulled down, the building was reinforced. The love for this building saved it once from demolition and again during the quakes due to the reinforcement.
Yeah, well, we were very fortunate back in the late 1980s. They decided to strengthen the building in deference to actually knocking it down at the time. And they've put a huge amount of concrete and reinforcing steel into this building. And certainly, so with the earthquakes in September and February this year, it's quite clear that the strengthening has kept this building standing. Well, at the time, they were evaluating the useful life of this building given its age, and the Ministry's proposal was to knock the building down and to replace it with a new building. But some of the staff and the old boys of the day decided that it was a building they wanted to retain. They thought the facade of it was a fantastic icon, and they didn't believe they should be knocking down such an iconic building, so they advocated for retaining it, and the Ministry agreed at the time, and so they invested the money in the strengthening of this building to keep it as a modern teaching space.
Mr McIntyre says the building is not only important for the school, but is also important for Christchurch.
Well, I think it's fantastic. I mean, as time goes by, it becomes even more important. And I know the boys, when they arrive here at Year 9, they look up at that building and think, wow, this looks impressive, and it has some stature. And certainly to visitors of the school as well, they see it as quite an iconic building, and it certainly gives the school some presence and some mana, really.
Although the school did suffer some damage, the damage sustained in the main building was minor.
Yeah. Well, this building here, we've got some cracking in the building. Particularly some high up in some of the parapets, we're starting to lose some of the brick skin off the building. Just a few bricks are coming loose. But the major structure of the building has stood very, very strong, and it's just going to be minor repair work really to get the building back to the way it was. Out in the periphery, we've got the old Dean's stable buildings in the very back of our school site, just adjacent to Rickerton House, which was the Dean's family home. They're a very old building, I think probably 150 years old. Single skin brick buildings, so they've suffered some damage. One of them in particular is going to, we're certainly taking the second story off it and trying to retain the bottom story, but the other two will require some bracing.
And there will be little disruption for students heading back to school on Monday, with the school almost in full use.
Yes, we are. We're using every classroom in this main building. Our hall we're still not using. We've got some roof panel damage that we're getting repaired. We also have some minor cracking and structural cracking that we're wanting to get checked out by engineers before we put students back in there again.